Hi, everybody. This is Chris,
This is Matt.
and today we're talking about Starflight.
Yes, we
Um,
are.
if you're joining us for the first time, just to let you know what this is not a review. This is not a let's play. This is we take a month and we'll tell you at the end of the show what our next month's game is. We all play it together, then we kind of talk about it. So if you want to play along, you can pick up the next game at the end of the show. But we just play it and come back with our feelings, thoughts, and experiences after a month of an old game that's over 20 years old. That's the rule that we have not
Yep.
always followed.
Yeah. Rules are made to be broken.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you want to play along, just post in the comments about it, and
Yeah,
we always like our YouTube comments. It's
we
really good.
do. I know people are asking us to go somewhere else with it, but at 300 people, like, I also don't want to manage a community. So if somebody wants to set up a Reddit thing or set up a Discord thing or set up something like that for us, I'll post a link to it, but I don't have the time to also manage an online community. So if you're one of those people looking for an official thing, I guess be the first and you win the official moderator
Yeah.
job.
Yeah,
You're
we'll even give you a
welcome.
share of the YouTube profits.
Yes. Until we hit 1,000 subscribers, you too can have a 50% share of all our YouTube profits.
Yep. Oh my.
Oh my. Oh, YouTube.
Yeah.
It's also, if you haven't guessed, we do this out of love, and we're going to go off the rails about a zillion times in the next 5 minutes. So, so let's
Yep.
try to have a little bit of focus. Starflight.
Loved it.
Loved it. I think we both said this, and it's the first time we've gotten to an end of a month and been sad. Like, there have been games I've wanted to keep playing, but I've never been genuinely bummed that we're at the end of a month. This is the
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, and I know like we are legally allowed to continue playing these games after the month, but there's always another game. So when it's
Right.
time to play, like I feel like, well, I should probably focus on that. So I am bummed that Starflight is
Hmm.
going away,
Yeah.
uh, which is weird because we played Star Control 2, which
Hmm.
is kind of like a successor to this and is very similar, but it just like did not grab me in the same way. And I know we're going to end up comparing those two games a lot because it wasn't too long ago that we played Star Control 2.
Wasn't too long ago that we played Star Control 2. And this I can kind of break into the influence Starflight had on future games, and Star Control 2 is an obvious future influence to it. Part of the reason why is Greg Johnson wrote for Starflight. He also wrote for Star Control 2 some of the alien dialogue.
Yeah.
And Paul Ritchie III, who is one of the lead developers for Star Control and Star Control 2, um, if you look in the credits for Starflight, he's given special thanks. So
Oh,
they
interesting.
were involved in this, and it's obvious that that carried forward into the sort of like Wasteland and Fallout.
Right. Do you know what else Greg Johnson went on to do?
No,
Toe Jam and Earl for the Genesis. Do you remember that
I
game?
do remember that game. That was
Oh,
a fun
so good.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're rappers from
Hmm.
another planet.
Yeah.
It was great. Very 1991 or
Very
whatever it was.
90s. Oh,
Early 90s. Yeah.
so 90s. Um,
God, yeah, it makes me want to get a Genesis just to play that again.
uh, while we're talking about other influences to this, though, I should mention that like Dwarf Fortress actually takes some influence from this, and all their
Wow.
forgotten beasts, where they're sort of a mishmash of creature parts randomly assigned together, that came from how they built the aliens in this. He's
Oh,
credited
interesting.
that, and Mass Effect, that entire series. The one of the leads has said that was a huge influence on the Mass Effect series. And if you remember Mass Effect 1, there's a series where you're driving around on a planet collecting stuff and going to random bases. You'll see. We're going to get to that in this.
Yeah. You did EGA, right?
I did EGA. I'm going to
The only
start the
way
game
to
going.
beat.
Right? What else would you do here? Oh,
Yeah.
the music.
Oh God. Okay, so this is
Oh,
I had
I
oh
stopped it
we
quickly.
got to play it for the people. I'm sorry everyone.
No, no. I mean, I skipped it on this recording.
Oh,
So
you skipped it on this recording. Well,
they
it's
got a taste.
horrible.
They got a
It,
taste.
the music is really bad. And like the first time I booted this up, and it was like in EGA, and it looks, you know, it looks like it's
EGA.
in EGA, right? It's not like the future of EGA. It's
No.
EGA as hell. So, and the music played, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is nostalgic. And then the second time the music played, I was like, ooh, I think I hate that music. And the third time, I was like, fuck you. I hate this music. Because you can't skip it right away. You have to listen to the first, like,
There's a few notes.
4 or
Yeah. Oh.
5 shrill notes, and it's just really awful.
It
I'm sorry.
immediately reminded me of the Auto Duel music. Like it
Right.
immediate. I should have probably done some research and looked up if there was some relation there because maybe it's just the PC speakerishness of it. But Bard's Tale didn't have that problem. Ultimas didn't have that problem.
No. No, it plays fast and loose with what it means to be music, I
Yeah.
think, is what they have in common. Like, it's not, it's just, I think Auto Duel is a little more freeform,
Auto
but,
Duel is definitely more freeform jazz odyssey, but this is
right. This is just like, it's bad,
it's just
but you should
bad.
listen to it.
You
Yeah.
should. I think it will be the only bad thing I have to say about the game.
I have another bad thing to say about the game.
Do you want to hold on to that? Have it
Yeah.
surprise me
I'll
later?
bring it up later. Yeah. Um,
Okay. We normally talk a little bit about the history of like where the game came from. Came from a company called Binary Systems. Kind of funny they called themselves Binary Systems because they also only did 2 games, Starflight and Starflight 2.
very good.
So was almost canceled several times. This game is one of those that sort of snuck in development hell for a long time because it was so ambitious. Um,
Did
and
you
hmm?
I'm sorry. Did you read the manual? I love in the beginning of the manual. There's like you can tell they were super proud of this game, which I love. But there was like in the beginning, there's like a couple blurbs about how they rewrote parts of this game like 7 different times, and it took 3,000 years, and it
Yeah,
was really good.
yeah, they're
Like
like 15 man years of production. I love that they counted everything they did in man years of production. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, it was
super
still
good.
only 3, but at the time, 3 years was huge.
Right, you could rewrite the subsystems of this game in Unity in like an afternoon.
Probably yes, yeah. Um,
But good on them. Like I like it when people are really obviously like proud of their development because you don't see that anymore. No one's ever like, yeah, I'm super proud of all the coding I did on this game. It just
well, and
doesn't.
I'm ambitious. It was an ambitious goal, and I think that's part of what triggered me to start playing Daggerfall on the side too. Is I admired the ambition of this game, and I wanted to go see the ambition of that game again.
Mhm.
Just because I really admire games that want to try, and the ambition is actually something where um, the guys who were originally came up with the idea and started working on it hired one of the first programmers they hired left because they're like, this can't be done.
Wow.
Like, you can't build the thing you're building. It's just not going to work. You're just not going to make it happen. Um, it's worth noting Ybarra from Electronic Arts is part of what kept it from death. And yes, that's that Ybarra from Bard's Tale. Some of the spells are listed in there, which plays into our game of, and I think we should play it every time now. 7 Degrees of Brian Fargo. Uh,
Yep.
this game's producer was Ybarra. Ybarra is named after some of the spells in the Bard's Tale because he was producer at Electronic Arts and were to Brian Fargo. So basically 2 steps. Not
Yeah.
a lot to get there.
This is basically a Brian Fargo game.
You think so?
No, not at all, but every game is a Brian Fargo
Every
game.
game's a Brian Fargo game. 7 Degrees of Brian Fargo. One of the things I think is interesting on this is originally developed for the IBM. Anything pre-90 that was originally developed for the PC, I find interesting because it wasn't a good game platform. So
Right.
later went to the Amiga, the ST, Macintosh, Commodore 64, and some vagaries about Apple II. I can't
Really?
really nail down. Like, if you look on the Wikipedia page, it didn't list Apple II as such, but I found a magazine ad that said it had it. So I'm not 100% sure. But
Hmm.
It did also, going back to our Genesis comment, this was on Genesis.
Yeah, right. I found the first manual I found for this before I realized it came with the good old games version I bought
Hmm.
was the Genesis manual. So I like read the whole first part, and then I did this with several games too. I did this with some 3DO game, and then I get to like where I start learning about the game, and it's like this goofy controller.
Yeah.
What did I do?
Wait, I'm not supposed to be here. Well, the Genesis made some changes. Each game seems to have tweaked it as it went, which was common back then.
Hmm.
Like now, if you like buy a game that's ported to the Xbox and the PlayStation, you're expecting the same gameplay. Maybe some tweaks for your controller, but the same story, the same gameplay. When I booted up the Amiga, I was noticing I was getting different information about things.
Hmm.
So that was weird. And then when I looked up the Genesis stuff, there was a whole like this rover that's driving around on screen now. You can upgrade that.
That I desperately wanted to upgrade
I
that
desperately want to
rover.
upgrade that. You can kinda with getting alien artifacts, but that's different. Like I'm talking like how you upgrade your ship, which I
Right.
think was a brilliant addition. Um, I do wish you could have done that here. It would have made things another level of stuff.
Yeah, that's what struck me about this game, and especially compared to Star Control, was that it's very everything is very very dangerous. It feels you feel like you're in some level of danger all the time, uh, because you're trying to push yourself out to get more stuff so you can keep pushing yourself. Um, and it's not like with Star Control too. You were just kind of blasting around the universe full tilt,
Hmm.
balls to the wall. But uh, with Starflight, you're kind of like eking around all the time. Like right now, you know, you go out to 50% of your fuel, and then you come back, and it's
Right.
a constant game of like, am I going to make it? Uh, will I dip into my reserves? It's the pacing is really good in that way.
Well, right. I think this whole game does a much better job of um, two things. One, it makes things feel personal. It brings you in close to things. It puts you there instead of like a couple steps removed. Where like Star Control, I always felt like I was at an arm's distance from the rover, like I'm watching it zip around, eat up Pac-Man dots. This has me like I can't see very far around the rover, and then I gotta like push myself over to something to grab something when I see it and move my way back. I can do scans, but that then removes me, and I feel removed at that moment. But I can't play that way. Um, that the crew is the crew. You assign them names. They have stats. There's something. It's not your crew takes damage and you lose some crew. It's uh, you know, Groot, gets hurt. It's,
Right, and they all have roles, and you have to bounce between. When you're piloting the ship, you have to bounce between your science officer and your
hmm
navigation and your captain and
yeah.
your doctor. All the different things, which I really like. Like it feels more like you're in charge of a spaceship.
This felt Star Trek to me. This felt legit Star Trek to
Very.
me.
Yep.
Um, I really liked that, and I don't mean it felt Star Trek in like the layout or the theme or the you know the graphics. I meant it felt it in the gameplay. And it felt like first gen, not even next gen. It felt frontier pushing things. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I
And
love
like,
my kids.
oh yeah, everyone on YouTube does because we hear them every month. I'm just kidding. Uh, no, I mean we all do love your kids.
Yes, I know.
Um, but yeah, I like this mining thing that you're doing is not complicated.
No.
It's really simple, and you're just driving around, but it has a feeling to it. Like there's elevations and
There's
it affects your
yeah.
efficiency and like it's you have to constantly stay on top of where you are, how far away you are, and take calculated risks and stuff.
Well, and as you're like plotting out where your minerals are, They're more exposed at certain elevations than other elevations, so you want to try and land at those where creatures tend to, like it even says in the manual, creatures will tend to pool around the equator of warmer planets at the lowlands. So if you're going to try and uh, capture creatures, you want to go down there. If you're going to try and do the other thing, you want to go up to the other side.
Right.
Um, I feel like capturing creatures somehow, and maybe we didn't get far enough into it. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt, but um, I feel like it's a missed opportunity because it didn't bring you a lot of money. You really only captured them one at a time, and then you brought them back, and that was the last you heard of it. Like,
Yeah. Generally speaking, I thought the combat in this game, it fit with the game and it was fun, but it's not very action packed. Like
mhm,
it's kind of turn based without being turn based. Like, you can do things in a certain order and
mhm.
then the enemy goes and you go.
The combat was playable. That was the big thing to me because again, comparing it to Star Control 2, Star Control 2 was just so frantic and things were sliding and moving. You never felt like you had 100% control of the starship. Shots
Right.
were hard to line up. This has a little auto aiming going on. As long as you're aimed in general direction, it picks the best weapon for the situation. Um, and you can steer and avoid things. And yeah, you're going to get hit sometimes, but um, even with a weaker ship against a fleet of ships, I held my own one time just because I was able to steer and navigate. And I felt, um, I don't want to say powerful. That was the other thing I want to go back to in a moment here, but I felt in control and like I was doing something amazing, even though it was a slow paced click, 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 click. It's not quite turn based. It's not quite real time. It's sort of a slow real time. So yeah, I'm
Yeah. I think the space combat was more fun than the terrain combat with like animals or creatures. The terrain combat's a little pokey and like you don't get feedback if you're doing damage really. Uh,
yeah.
but it was still like fine. Like it's still a little bit tense and things are happening. It's not bad.
Oh yeah, like one time I got off my ship and this balloon creature came up and just messed up my Christmas. Like
Yep.
took two guys down to 30% and I'm like, I haven't even started the engine yet. What are you
Right.
doing? Give
Haven't
me a
even.
second.
Yeah. Right. That blue turd you drive around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be exciting and a little bit intense. I'm dumb because like once I found some kind of building
Hmm.
and I was driving around and it kept saying it is hailing. And I thought, oh, the building's hailing. And I'm trying to like I was reading the manual. I'm like, where the hell? How do I get to my communications officer? No, it was the weather.
The
Like
weather
it
is
tells you
hail.
what the weather's like. They're not hailing me. No one wants to
No.
talk to me.
The buildings, though, that to me is the biggest difference between this and Star Control 2 in terms of what I absolutely loved about exploring planets is
Hmm.
landing on a planet and like zipping around and gathering minerals and then you come across ruins and there's two types of ruins and it gives this aspect of there was a universe before you
Right.
and it rose and fell and you're part of it but you are not the god being, you're not the chosen one, you are not some super powerful, you're just a guy exploring it. And that's a much better feeling, I think, than what I got in Star Control 2. For me personally,
Yeah,
I
I
like that game
agree.
better.
Yeah, I liked that it was just kind of open. They
Hmm.
they dump you into the world and like there's the manual has a pretty lengthy like
They put some thought in it.
yeah, there's like some background and some story, but really you're just out here trying not to die
Hmm.
and like there's some plot with the sun exploding and having to find somewhere to go. But for the
Yeah,
most part it's pretty much just like get out there and you know Star Trek it up.
yeah. I don't think we should brush off the story too much because it does. I'm sorry. I've got a mirror over on my side, and I'm just looking at this piece of paper someone drew for me slide through the door, and
Oh,
it's adorable, and I love it. But, um,
yeah.
so the Star Control 2 story, you return with the super ship. You still got to outfit it some, but you're
Hmm.
definitely, everybody's like, whoa, where'd you get the Ferrari? Uh, and so you immediately start out with that feeling of you've got the tools to do the job no one else can do. This is, we found a jalopy in the basement.
Right.
We've made some copies that kind of work. We need to get out of here. Help.
Right.
Like, and that sense of being um, weak, starting not as something that can handle things and building out of it. I know games go through this cycle of giving that to you and taking it away and giving that to you and taking it away, but I always am happiest when we start with the weak characters and build out.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. And your ship looks like a bottle opener. It's
Mm-hmm.
just you can upgrade it pretty quick. Like it's not a total slog. Um, which I liked.
It's not a total slog if you find the money planet.
The money planet, yep, which you
Um,
found and told me about.
oh yeah.
Like you can do pretty well on that first planet. Like
Mhm.
it just takes some more time.
Yeah, you'll get some upgrades. You'll get moving some places, but
But money planet is full of money.
full of money. So yeah, how you make money is you go out, you gather resources, you bring them back, you sell them. They do a pretty good job explaining that they're like, yes, we need this, but we also need to fund more of you and try and get out there. So there has to be some exchange. That's why we're selling and buying
Yeah.
stuff. But obviously platinum is high up there, and there's a planet not too far from where you are once you get a little bit of fuel that's relatively safe to go to that's loaded with platinum.
Yep.
And just making several trips there until your ship is outfitted and your crew is trained, and then you're ready to go. But to me, that's almost like, okay, I figured out the first part. And then as I started to get into other things, like that's just, it's almost like the training mission. Then you're seeing stuff like this where the satellite goes up, beams some stuff at me,
Hmm.
and it's
Is that
like,
Can
hmm,
you ever do anything with that coded data? Can you like decode that or
it's
something?
got to mean something. I don't
Yeah.
know. I was trying to figure it out. I did eventually go to that planet, and there's some interesting things there. This game is fantastic at giving you dozens of tiny nudges
Hmm.
and never breadcrumbing you anywhere. And just, there's all kinds of, there's something over there. Never a full what's over there, just ships have disappeared, or we've found some fluxes, or um, we heard there's aliens this way, or there's no aliens this way, or just all this kind of little like things to go investigate without
Right.
saying go check this box off. And within a like about your first day or two of playing, if you're taking notes, you're going to have a page or two of things to go explore and find out what's going on over there. Um,
Yeah, I like that. Like I had a game. The first game I played went kind of wrong,
mhm.
uh, and so
And
I
they
just
will.
like, yeah, and they will. And so I just like basically said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go check out whatever the thing was that they told me." Like, because usually I'm pretty cautious and like
Mhm.
build my stuff up and grind out, some time. But I just like went for it, and it was just like chaos. I didn't understand what was happening. It
Yeah,
does tell you in the manual.
yeah.
Eventually, I figured that out, but uh, I liked that a lot. Like it just felt like, yeah, here, go check it out if you want.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
don't know what's going to happen.
don't know what's gonna happen. I like. I had several thoughts there, so I've got to pick one. The one I want to start out with is like we are normally more cautious game players, but when you got a month and the game's this big,
Right.
You can't be. And I think that affected how we played the game, which is unfortunate because I would have been more deliberate and more persistent with some of these things.
Yeah.
Especially because this is definitely an Iron Man would be the best way to describe it game. Due to space limitations and how they handled this universe, and this is sort of like everything's a thread with this. The size of the universe in this game is 270 star systems and 800 planets that you're exploring on a very personal level.
Right. In
In
1986. That's pretty remarkable.
1986, right. Just the scale of it. In order to be able to save your game, what they did is they didn't have save game slots because you're changing the universe as you do things.
Right.
They just overwrote the master files on the disk. So you needed to have a backup of the disk. And if you don't save correctly, and you'll have some things to say about, I just remembered what your other thing is you don't like.
This is the other thing I did not like.
If you do not save correctly, or you die, or something else, you're done. If you don't answer the copy protection right, it hoses your entire game file. So have a backup, and in modern days, yeah, you do because it's on good old games. You just download it again. But
Mm-hmm.
back when some little boy ordered it from a hacker in California and didn't know he needed a code wheel, and then tried to leave and just shut the thing off thinking he'd come back later, and then discovered he couldn't boot the game again.
Right. Yeah, that drove me nuts. So I'll say
Say your
the good
piece. You
the
do
good
it your way.
the good old games version is pretty good because they give you a little app that does the copy protection, and they give you a little app that resets the game so you
Mhm.
can relaunch it and not be totally fucked. But the problem is, like, a lot of times these games, like, the copy protection is just removed.
Mhm.
And so I didn't look in the app. So my first game, I just got screwed up because I missed the copy protection. It doesn't tell you right away.
No.
Uh, but then I had a game that locked up, and that was it. Like, that's done. I was just finished uh, because it corrupted the save when I closed the window. And then I had a game where something bad happened, and I thought, well, I'm gonna exit gracefully, and
Mhm.
that'll be okay. That's not okay. You can't do that either. It is definitely like you have to Iron Man it. You have to save,
Mhm.
otherwise you're starting over.
Yep.
That pissed me off several times. Uh, you know, and it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was my fault. Like, I didn't expect something
Mhm.
outrageous. But that I found that to be quite frustrating.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's something I guess I would say I don't like about it, but understanding where it was at the time, I forgive it. Um,
I feel like it was a deliberate choice, though. Don't you think it was? Because we had the tech. I guess probably just because of the size of the universe, like you said.
it's the size of the universe. It was a total size of the universe thing. That much stuff on 5 and a quarter inch discs.
Right. Right. You can't write the whole thing out
Mm-mm.
every time you save.
No, and once you've tapped some alien ruin somewhere for their stuff,
Hmm.
yeah.
This guy's walking like an
I
Egyptian.
was gonna say I paused the video here because I want to take a special moment and just talk about the human silhouette because I just love it. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. He's kind of oddly shaped dude
Yeah,
or lady. You just don't know.
I know. Yeah, I love that they give you like silhouettes of all the races.
Yeah, you got Zorak
Yeah,
here. I like Gearhopper. That's a good name.
Zorak. Oh, I'm
I
bummed.
totally named my guy Zorak. And this looks like the plant guy looks like the branch lawyer from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the one
Yeah,
with the trees. I like that one.
I don't know if you noticed what I named my science officer.
S.O. Birch.
No, that was supposed
Oh,
to be a communications officer.
oh yeah.
So the reptiles and the plant guys don't get along. Meaning, if you take both, they get along for you. Anybody from your main planet gets along. But out in the universe, they don't get along. So if you have a reptile guy, the plant guys will attack you on sight. If you have a plant guy, the reptile guys will attack you on sight. If you have both, both will attack you on sight. It's not like they'll look and go, oh, they're getting along. Maybe we should talk. No,
No.
they're just. One of my big problems was occasionally I'd hit escape or something, try and back out of a menu I didn't want to be in,
Me too.
and that would pull the thing up, and it's a slow pull up.
God, it's so pokey. Yeah, that drove me nuts. Yeah, but it's usually spacebar disengages from the menu. What did you think of this base, or what did you think of the UI in general for this game?
This UI is ahead of its time, this base part, and I don't know that that's a good thing. Um, it definitely has the feel of that sort of like hub interactive thing from the 90s,
Hmm.
which were 4 years away. Like Beyond Forbidden Forest Sky website, where everything on the site as you click to go into it.
Right.
You didn't
Or
see a
TIE Fighter was like that.
TIE Fighters like that. You didn't see a lot of that in the 80s. So I appreciate that they were kind of ahead of things on that. Um, I don't know that I've ever really liked that because you do lose things that you think, oh, I just never chose to investigate that. But we're talking about the interface. I sometimes need to know do I need to click on things,
Right.
especially when the rest of the game is pretty much all menu driven.
Right. Some of the menus in that, like the crew assignment section, is pretty crappy. Like
Yeah.
it's not really intuitive, and
No.
you have to go through the whole menu every time.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not bad. Like I think
No. It's
the
fine.
non-hub menus are pretty good.
Hmm.
I will say that if you find yourself in a combat situation, you better know which one of these assholes put your shields up and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I thought it would be engineering, it's navigation.
It should be engineering.
Yeah,
Yeah. Navigation does a whole lot of stuff. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't. So there's part of me that loves how they do this sort of menu driven, who are you selecting, ordering to do things system. But when stuff's gotten real, like when communications have broken down, backing out of the communications person and then going into the navigator is precious seconds.
right.
And that is one of the things that I like better about this than Star Control because it is precious seconds. I also love this, by the way.
The star map.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause it for a second because I want to talk about it. Um, it is precious seconds, but it would be precious seconds you would do in real life too.
Right.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting that they didn't just give everything a key on the keyboard.
Yeah, I almost would have been happier like switching with number keys, but again, it was 1986, so
That would have been a good idea. Yeah, just boop boop boop. F1, F2. Like you got those function keys up there.
yeah.
Let's use them. Let's make some
Right.
magic happen.
Come on, guys.
Well, in the Commodore, you could do everything with the joystick,
Oh, that's
which was
cool.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Which I would understand if I was doing everything with a joystick, but you started on the PC. Eh? Could we, work with that?
Yeah.
This map is brilliant.
It is. It tells you a lot of information, and I like that how they used coordinates in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it made sense.
Yes. Coordinates made sense. It gave you you could estimate about how far away fuel things were. It didn't give you an autopilot that would let you click somewhere and just go to that. You still had to steer your way there. I like that it's incomplete.
Hmm.
That was like you don't when you first look at it, you're not realizing how incomplete. You can get a game from Good Old Games that came in the original box that shows you where a lot of the initial fluxes are. And that's
Right.
those lines you're seeing on the screen right now. If you hit one end of them, it will warp you to the other end of it and
Right.
back.
And I like that if your navigation skill is good, you can get your coordinates on the other side. I
And if
really
it's
like
not,
that.
you can't.
And that's what happened in that game that I kind of like just went out to the flux right away.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know where I was. It was just like the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere. That was really a good experience.
It was. This is a game you're going to play multiple times because you're going to learn things each time. But unlike Star Control, where I felt out of control when I lost the game, I never feel like that was the game choosing something for me. I made a
Mhm.
choice and consequences came of that choice, as opposed to the game inflicted consequences on me that it chose.
Right.
Um,
I like the way it handles failure too. Like unless everyone dies, you can do a distress beacon and
yeah.
someone will save your bacon and like
Hmm.
but there's consequences. Same with losing the lander. Like you have to buy a new one, you lose everything that was on it, your people get hurt.
Yeah.
It's really a good system and it feels like it's on a long
Yeah.
timeline because you're not just like, oh, I fucked up, I'm dead.
It doesn't punish you too hard for exploring, but at the same time does punish you for not managing your stuff. That's
Yep.
perfect.
Yep.
That's really what you want. The other thing that's not on here, so like the fluxes aren't on here. I was surprised because I went like through a long flux into a nebula and was like exploring around there, and on my way back to find the flux, I found a star system that wasn't on the map.
Sweet.
I'm like, okay, now I have this to figure out. It's like
Right.
I hadn't counted on this being a thing, but apparently it is. And I don't know, I love it. I just
Yeah, it checked all my boxes. Like I really like resource gathering. I
mhm.
like upgrading things. Uh,
I like mystery and world exploration, and
right.
this did it in spades. And the comment system, like when you come back, there's like like headquarters that you
Hmm.
go into, and then they start having a message board that scrolls, and you read everything on the message board. And sometimes it's stuff to you, or it's poignant stuff that like are clues, and sometimes it's just somebody, you owe me money, show up here. Like it just adds that little
Right.
bit of something.
It feels the world feels pretty alive in
Yeah.
general.
There were a couple things that made me think like, oh man, that's too bad that they couldn't take it that step further. Like there's one where there was an officer looking for a new ship. I know it was meant just as flavor, but it would have been really cool to go into human resources and see that officer in there.
Yeah.
Add that sort of, and maybe they do something special. Maybe they're somebody who's got a higher or lower something. Um,
I thought that too. I went and looked for them in
I
the
did.
in the personnel list,
I
and
was
I was
hoping.
bummed they weren't there. But
I knew they wouldn't be, but I still went like, oh, maybe this game does a lot of cool stuff, but they weren't.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, I would like to see. So, like, each character has a bunch of stats, but you really only need the stat for the ship's position they're working. But you can have one person work more than one position. So, in theory, you could take one guy, give him all the stats, and watch
right.
him on there. Now, each race has something they're better or worse at. Um, so, you don't want a human doing everything, but a human's pretty good at science.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, what was my approach to that was to only upgrade the thing that the people are doing and just rely on them not getting killed, and then having because you can backfill, but
yeah, which
overall,
I, that was my plan too. But I felt I wish there was a little more to it. I wish there were like overlap things. Like if your navigator had good, science or something, they might steer the flux better or could save fuel. I don't know. Something that caused crossover skills to be worth increasing. Still, maybe not letting you increase everything, but helping make some choices a little better would have been kind of cool.
yeah,
Um,
like it matters for your captain. Your captain's like an overall
hmm
kind of deal.
Is he? I never
Yeah,
understood what the captain was. I hadn't even been upgrading him. I'm like, "Meh."
yeah. If your captain affects how strong your ship appears. I think that
Oh,
there's some language around that in the manual.
okay. I must have
but
missed
it's
that.
not super clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
The manual, I think, is noteworthy because it's really stringently outlined, which I liked a lot. Like it goes
Hmm.
through every menu item, every task on every menu item, tells you exactly what it does.
Good
Uh,
spacing. I know that sounds odd to comment on a manual, but the spacing between stuff
let
was
me.
wide enough that really broke down. Like you never felt overwhelmed with information.
You are correct. It's a well spaced manual.
It is. It's
Yeah.
just the gaps between like when you're talking about navigation and then they give you a good bit of white space so your brain can go, okay, I'm ready for the next thing. Okay, now we're going to talk about science. Okay, I'm ready.
Right. Section 423,
Yep.
science. It's
Yeah.
really like, it's really explicit
Yeah. And
and
it's
concise.
right. And the premise is you missed you missed the briefing, so they're giving you sort of a secondary briefing and then handing you the technical manual.
Yep.
I love that it's a lore inwoven manual. At the same time, like you said, it's clear, it's concise, and it spells out exactly how to run the game. It's one of the better manuals
Yeah.
I've seen.
Yeah. Good. Good.
Yeah.
Good job, whoever wrote that.
What did you feel about like the scanning planets and stuff? I liked that.
I liked it too. So you do a scan and then an analysis. I didn't really get what the difference was. Like it pretty much told you. I also liked that it still recognizes that some people don't read very much or very well, and it won't let you land like on a gravity planet that will crush you.
How
It's
did you
like
find that out?
I saw it on someone else's play. No, of
Oh,
course
yeah.
I tried it. Like I was just like, I'll scan whatever.
So I found out. So here's what I think happens, and here's why I think it will stop you if you've scanned. But like I had a time where my sensors were shot. Like I'm around a planet and I'm trying to land, and like my sensors are shot, my engines are shot. Like I got blown to bits and just sort of floating and repairing. Um, and I took the time to repair the whole ship out in space, which was awesome that you could do that and get myself back. But I'm betting if my sensors weren't working, I probably could have landed on a bad planet. But
Oh yeah.
the times I tried landing on like a gas giant stuff, they're like, no, it'll crush us. And I'm like, really? And I go back and I look at the gravity, it's like 17 times. I'm like,
Yep.
that would crush us.
Sure.
That
Sure enough.
sure.
You ain't whistling Dixie. Yeah.
Well, here's
Yep.
combat for those who are interested.
Yeah. It's okay.
Like it looks really tiny because we're far apart, but as we get closer, it zooms in, Star
Right.
Control style.
Right.
You'll notice the pace is like I'm like, oh, I can kind of dodge around these missiles that are coming at me. Oh,
Yep.
that one got me though. Like it's not perfect. Oh,
Right. Yep. You're taking some shots here.
yeah,
Oh boy.
because I need to get out of the way. My armor, my shields are gone.
Yeah, you're in a pickle here. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's fine. It's not super fast paced, but it's also not ponderous. It's about right.
it's really dialed into a good pace. Yeah, because it's not so frantic that if you're not twitchy, you can do this, but you
The,
can't sit there and just let stuff happen because you're not gonna. That's not gonna work either.
the thing I didn't like about it is that I didn't feel like it gives you a lot of feedback about how you're doing. Like you you don't really know when you're getting hits. You can kind of see
No,
it, but there's no like impactfulness to the combat at all.
no,
Same, especially on the planets too, where it's a little more up close and intimate. You want some kind of feedback.
I feel like that is a flaw of the era. They're just like you can't shake the screen. You can't like there just wasn't enough to give you that graphical and sound kick
Yeah,
that really would. I'm sure if they rebuilt it today, it would. But
yeah.
um, there's me get. Oh, I missed. Oh, but he got me.
Oh boy. Yep.
I do get him here. I don't remember if we did any. Oh, we did some with like the Mechan nines and stuff. Um, the interaction with the alien races and talking to them and stuff I think is interesting because there is some back and forth and some posturing and like you need to learn what they respond to and whether they expect your shields to be up or down when you're talking. And there's just a lot of little subtleties to how you talk, and it's not just what you click in the dialogue choices. Like other
Right.
things affect it. And I think that's a great level of interaction I don't see in a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I really liked that aspect of it too. And you can kind of like determine your tone, and
Hmm.
you know, you learn about the species doing it.
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to think, are there any other?
Yeah, the only thing I wish I would have found a colony world. I really wanted to do that, but I didn't get far enough. I didn't find one.
Well, and that's why I started at the end, jumping like long distances and trying to just so I could like I want to find one before I do, but I never did.
Yeah, you
Um,
get hints like people tell you. I never made it to the planet that they told me to go to
hmm,
check. Uh,
yeah, I found one I thought was, but I misread the gravity. Speaking of gravity things, and so it was like 2.1, but everything else was perfect, and they're like, no,
and yeah, because they review your choices, which I like. That's kind
yeah,
of cool.
yeah. They review your choices, then you get back, and they're like, no, and we're gonna dock you 100 credits this time. Next time will be a real fine. I'm like, oof, okay, good to know.
Guess they take that seriously. Yeah, well.
Yeah. So, I like the random creature designs. I like that when you like on the planet, you can look at them and they are all these weird alien-esque
Right.
vibe things. I again love the air of mystery. Just kind of going through the last of my notes here.
I wish that the like when you land on the lander, it shows you like a grid, terrain
Mm-hmm.
grid where it's elevated and up and down. I wish that you could really
Feel
do
that,
that, feel that, because they use it's color coded, and it, like I said earlier, it affects your efficiency of your lander. Um,
but it'd be
but
nice to have a little more 3D to it.
it would be nice, yeah, to have some more feedback about that. But
Yeah,
I get it, like it,
yeah.
you know.
What scares me about more feedback though is like if you look at the new stuff that's coming out, like they were trying to kickstart a Starflight 3 and stuff, and the rover they were showing, and even in the Mass Effect one where you're driving around on like a 3D terrain, it ends up feeling arcadey. Where this was a more strategic, like here's your map. I know what you mean. Like I'd like to see some. I'd like to feel the topography,
Yeah.
but I don't want to get into a 3D drive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But they made it a thing. Like they made the elevation a thing by
They
putting
did.
the creatures low and the minerals high, and that's great. Um, but
But let me know if I'm driving uphill or downhill.
yeah, give me something.
Give me something to work with. I guess I do have one other. I won't say it's a bad thing to say about the game, but it was kind of like, oh, so the only way to raise your skills is training, not use.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Um, I guess that's fine for game balance, but it would have been nice to, you know, go on a 5 year mission to explore new worlds and new peoples and come back when I'm ready to come back. And if I'm finding fuel and I'm finding stuff in ruins and stuff, my people are getting better. They're learning. So when they come back, they're better rather than I come back and train up and then go back out. It's,
Yeah, that's a really good point.
yeah,
I agree completely.
got him. That
Very
guy
good.
fires a lot of torpedoes.
Yeah. Now you're gonna loot him.
Yep. Took me a while to figure out how to loot in here because you got to go to like commander and you got to be up next on top of it, I think. So like I'm
Yeah,
scanning with sensors and stuff, and I'm trying to figure out like how do I loot this? Because I had no idea.
it's under cargo, right?
Yeah.
Under captain. Is
Mm-hmm.
it in captain?
It's in
Yeah.
captain.
Yeah, that it's not intuitive where you need to go all the time.
Yeah.
But again, it's very explicitly called out in the manual. But that doesn't do you any favors when you're in combat,
No, because you're not pausing it there.
right?
You're
I guess
going.
you could if you want to deal with that slow ass escape menu, which no one wants to
No
do.
one wants to do. Um, I like that when you run out of fuel, there's systems for that. Like when you run out of fuel in the rover, it says returning on foot. Depending on the weather, you'll take more damage on the way back. People could die on the way back if you're far enough away, I guess. And
Right.
like
Yeah.
I've run out of fuel flying. Did you run out of fuel just flying around ever?
Yeah. I also got in a situation where my engines were damaged and I didn't have the right minerals I needed to fix them. I needed cobalt and I didn't have it. I really liked that because like it would be cool to know that and just carry around the right shit.
I must have gotten lucky when my engines were damaged because mine fixed and I didn't recognize that it needed that. But like looking later, I'm like, oh, well, I
Yep.
guess I just had some minerals on
Good for you. Must have been coming back from Money Planet.
it, right? Oh,
Yeah.
so no. And they got in the fine tune really like you're talking about how your rover gets more efficient depending on terrain. The gravity of the planet determines how much fuel it takes to take off.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, there's just little, the whole thing is full of really little specific touches that make the world feel, make the galaxy feel real. And they didn't phone anything in. There were
Right.
some things that I think they were bound by at the time, but I don't think at any time did they just take the easy way out on any of their choices. They really struggled to make it as science fiction-y as possible,
Except possibly the music.
except the music. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they just ran out of space.
Yeah.
They had too much space, so they ran out of space. Let's see. My tips and tricks. You only need to be next to something to pick it up, except on the over thing. So that can save you precious fuel when exploring, like not
Right.
having to drive on top of it. Yeah.
Yep. Even diagonals work.
Mhm.
Make sure if you get the good old games version, the copy protection is real. That's
Yes.
my big tip.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the thing that struck me about it. Like, good old games is all. We don't have copy protection. I mean, I know they're giving you the code wheel tool with it, but technically that's still copy protection.
Right. Right. And it's not like you get it wrong and it kicks you out of the game. It lets you go. They're
And then
like,
erases your game.
yeah. It's like, are you sure? Like, yeah, sure. It's whatever. Like, this is probably hacked. I'm just going to go. And then
Yeah.
you get to the first time you get into a new system, like the software
Mhm.
police show up and destroy you. It's good.
Yeah.
It's like kind of funny.
Yeah. When you're starting out and your crew's not very good, do straight lines from your rover to explore, and then go back the same way. Because if you start like wandering too far off to get pockets of minerals, even if they look really tempting, your guy's going to get lost. You're going to see lost, and you're not getting back to your rover. You're going to be who knows where.
Yeah.
Which now that I think about, it's kind of funny because I had that happen to me a couple of times, and like, um, yeah, this is where I die. Uh, once the rover was broken, they made a beeline back to the ship. I'm like, if you assholes knew where it was,
Right.
why
That's a
didn't
good
you
point.
just tell me?
Yeah.
Do you think this is
Really?
funny, Billy? This isn't funny.
Yeah. Boy, I didn't think about that, but you're right. They do just like haul ass straight back to that ship like
Yeah.
it's no problem.
Didn't know where it was a second ago. Now you know. Okay. Um, and androids are tempting, but don't bother.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't cost anything to take one in early game.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that like I think on my second game. I had an Android for a while for the first few trips to Money Planet and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just like threw them on the scrap heap as soon as I
Yeah.
could. Took a Zorak or whatever.
Yeah. Because androids have like a really good starting navigation, isn't it? Like 150, and then maybe
Yeah.
like 150 in science, but you cannot train them. That
Right.
is where
They're
they
done.
stay. Yeah. Um, training, like we didn't talk a lot about training, but training is really interesting in that every race trains at a different rate and can hit different maximums at each. And so, and like they have a training score, which is like 6 to 9 or 6 to 10, I want to say. And that's how much a stat will go up each time you train it.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just, all of training felt weird to me. I didn't really like it. I feel like there should have been a training system, but I don't feel like that hit the mark. Um,
Yeah, like it's cool. It's cool
it
that they have
worked.
different,
Hmm.
different learning rates or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be nice if there was some kind of experience element to it.
I wouldn't have minded seeing some random number generation on those stats too.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
going through and like picking people, like who are we recruiting? Who is coming on here? And they'd still have the same caps maybe, but starting stats would be different amounts.
Yeah.
And then hiring them based on how much money you got. We were doing money for everything else, so
Right.
that'd have been
Well,
interesting.
you are getting. They're giving you the business here.
Oh, this one they're giving me the business, and that's why like I saw how much damage I had taken, and I'm like, I'm done. Um,
Hmm.
let's just see how much damage I can do before they
Yep.
take me out. Surprisingly, a lot. I don't think I destroyed any of them, but man, I got my licks in before they took me down.
Sure.
Like, yeah, this is another minute or so before it finally craps out. Um, any other tips for anybody who wants to start playing this?
Uh, no, no. I would definitely recommend giving it a try, though.
Yeah, the graphics are definitely 1980s graphics, but you know what? They work. They're
Yeah, they're
serviceable.
fine. They're not. They're not objectionable.
Mm-mm. Um, yeah, I think it's at that era where everything was still representative, so you don't ever feel like it's jarring.
Yeah.
Where when you get to the Alone in the Dark and it's not, that's supposed to be a person, and you're like,
Right. It's
no, that's not a
uncanny
person.
valley. Yeah.
I don't know
Right.
what that is. That's not a person. Um, yeah, no, my science doctor was Dr. Octagon.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was awesome. Good call. It's like my favorite album.
All right. Um, 26 seconds. I'll let me die here before we talk about our
Yep.
next games.
We'll send you off. Oh man. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that
sad.
was that was a hit. Shields are down.
You
There's
got laser and a tiny bit of hole and a
Yep.
dream.
I'm gonna win.
You do
I'm
it.
gonna win.
You can't move anymore. Oh,
No,
here it comes.
there it is. Boop, and that's all it says. Hull destroyed. Game over.
Yep.
It's kind of unceremonious. They don't even give you like a death screen of like the ship broken apart and people floating through space.
Yeah, that would have been great. I like a good gory death scene.
Yeah. So Starflight 3 people. You know what to do.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
let's
Make it disturbing.
yes. Okay, so in a couple weeks we're going to talk about our next short game, which is the Goonies. Have you even tried that yet?
I have been playing Starflight exclusively, but I'm gonna dive right into the
Yep.
Goonies after.
Yeah. I started playing through it. I think last time I said there were 5 screens. There's actually 8.
Oh, good to know.
I remember like some of the puzzles are actually genuinely pretty tricky now that I'm in it again.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, these
Yeah, I'm
are
excited. I'm gonna play it.
these are a challenge. Gotta always love that. And our long game next week or next month is Another World, which is not Flashback. Yeah, though it looks
Right.
like Flashback. And they're not sequels or prequels of each other. They are separate games and separate universes and separate everything, but they look a lot alike.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I've got a lot of memories of Out of This World, so I'm excited about it. Hardcore nostalgia next time.
yeah, also known as Out of This World. That's right. Um, yeah, no, it will be. I think this is one. Yeah, I think this is the one that I accidentally rented, uh, and ended up spending like $100 renting it because I went away for a week and didn't realize I didn't return it.
Oh no.
So I spent a lot of money on this game, but it was good. I liked it. I'm looking forward to playing it again. Yeah. Anything else we want to say before we go? I feel like that was a good one.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm good.
All right.
It was fun.
Then, oh my God, I haven't been recording. I was just kidding.
No!
Mother. All right. Talk to everybody next time. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.